All right.
Welcome to Keys to Home. Hey!
Season 4, episode 10. Is that right?
Season 3, episode
hold
11.
on. Hold on. I am tracking this. Give me a second.
No, it's season 4, episode 10, I think.
Yes. No.
It's not season
4, episode 11.
11. Okay. Well, I was off on, but yeah. We need an admin for our podcast.
I think they make those.
Yeah, right. So what's everybody been doing this week?
I brought on a new client.
Nice. Coaching, career coaching or financial coaching or double?
This is financial coaching. A lot of young, late 20-year-olds, early 30-year-olds who have graduated through their spending and hit that time frame of, I better get my act together because if I don't, I'm going to be 40 and trying to figure out life at that point. So
it's kind of when it hits, isn't it?
Yeah, it kind of, there's a kind of couple phases that I've noticed, and very similar to what I went through. It seems like late 20s, maybe late 30s, and later decades. The other thing is Department of Education. Department of Education is moving, and they're moving the headquarters. I think Linda McMahon is the Department of Education secretary. She's moving that out of Washington, I believe, and downsizing it. We're really at a point where the Department of Education and that Carter administration boondoggle of pig and fat money-sucking department is pretty much going to be non-existent. It can't go away completely, but that takes an act of Congress, but it's pretty much done.
Where is she moving it to?
It's somewhere I didn't follow it. I just had gotten the lead story. I know it's going to be out of Washington, D.C., or so it's going to save taxpayers about $5 million a year from just from the location change.
Okay. Yeah. What else is going on with you, Lance?
Well,
I've been running.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I've been running. Yeah.
I've been trying to keep people from jumping off the ledge. Interest rates, they went up about a point. So just trying to keep everybody at calm. But people, there's deals happening, right, Jennifer?
Yeah. I've got 2 under contract right now. Another buyer came on. As you see from the background, I'm up in Ohio. I'm actually I'm talking to 2 family friends that are agents. Everybody knows a ton of agents, and it's really hard. It's really hard when you have multiple agents to choose from. We're actually going to be talking today about what do you need to find out about an agent you're choosing to not buy a home with. We've talked about that, but list your home with. Because a lot of times when you're listing your home, this is where Mark and I overlap more than Mark and Lance overlap, I think, more on the purchasing side. And Mark and I overlap more on the listing side because there's things that you're wanting to do when you liquidate the equity in your home. So how do you get that? How do you know when to plan? How do you know that you're not running into the agent like we talked about last year, who's blowing smoke up your behind about your house is worth $200,000 more than it is, and your timeline is going to be this when it's not? So we're going to talk about a lot of those things. And like I said, I'm putting a lot of it into practice myself. And, do you want to sell for sale by owner or not? What are the benefits? What are the detractions? And some of those sorts of things. So when we're ready to do that, if we're ready now, I'll go ahead and share screen because, ADHD, and I'll lose things if I don't do. So let me see here. Share screen. I know, right? Hey, ADHD is a good thing for me. Windows. Okay, here we are.
Doors to the wall.
Right? Okay. So is that a beautiful kitchen? Can you guys see that?
Yeah.
That's my old house. I loved that kitchen when I finally got it redone, and I lived there for about 6 months, and then I found my house that I love, and I was like, oh my gosh, I gotta move. You know,
so I got it done, then she moved.
Yeah. I love that blue. That blue is called Hail Navy, and the white is Snowbound, and then the walls are Balboa Mist. So if anybody's looking for colors. All right, so let me see here. I'm going to get this to move. I think I have to pop over here and get this to move over here. Did that? Okay, so as y'all know, I'm at Benchmark, and Benchmark is called that because we're the standard against which you should be measured. So we usually outsell the competition 2-1. We have over 1,800 realtors affiliated with us. The 4 billion, it's way under. I just got our new stats like last week, and I haven't, like, I heard them, but I haven't got the slide deck, so I have to update that. And then, how do you select a qualified realtor agent? So you need to see what their marketing strategies are, what their exposure to other agents, their exposure to the public, their success at securing prospective buyers. What are they going to do when they're showing your home? Then you have to secure your agreement with them, close a transaction, and get your net equity. So everybody thinks that the price is the main thing that realtors do, but if you notice, that was not on that list. Setting the price is not on that list. Setting the price is determined by the market, not you or your agent. So you need to select your agent on their ability to get you the best price in the best time frame, not on which agent suggests the best price. You need to select a competent agent and set the price together based on your needs. Now, what would I mean by that? If you need to move very quickly for whatever reason, then you may price your home a little bit under what you may get for it if you were longer on the market. Our market is incredibly tricky right now. I was talking to the neighbor up here in Ohio, and he said, are you going to price it so that you can negotiate down? And I said, no, that's one of the worst things you can do in this market right now, because they're sitting on the market. There was a stat that came out just this week. Listings outnumber buyers 2-1 right now. So if you want your house to sell, you got to make it look good. Traditionally, if you're looking online, which most people are for houses, they're going to look at 10 houses. So you have to have your house be better than the other 9 if you want them to pick it. That is probably closer. Like, there's so many more houses out there. They're still looking at 10-ish, but there's so many more to choose from that to be in the 10, you have to even be tighter to get there, right? So what do you need to do to get to that? And then the other thing is, if you have a little more time on the market, then you might price it a little tighter, but you don't want your house to sit on this market, because how many homes are sitting? That if your home is sitting, people think that there's a problem with it, because mentally everybody is still in 21. We are 5 years from that. It's been 5 years since the craziness, but our heads are still there as buyers and sellers. And that's not good. And sometimes the buyers' heads are way back in 14, where they think they can get everything on a deal. So
Jennifer,
what I would suggest,
let me jump. Why do you think that is the case? Why do you think people are stuck in 2021 and 2022?
It was such an anomaly, and it was an exciting anomaly for sellers. My God, I'm getting what for my house? I never dreamed, because it was never insanely possible until insanity happened in the government. And we're the ones to give that up. And so we're escalating really slowly. We escalated 35% in 2 years. Usually it's 5 to 7 in a strong year. We did 5 to 7 years worth of escalation in 2 years. So now we're slow down.
Right. I know we had obviously a worldwide health event.
It wasn't that. It was the flooding the market with money and the dropping of the interest rates.
Okay, that is what I really wanted to know is what would cause the market to go back to that time frame? Again, would it take an injection of cash like we saw in 2021, 2022? What would it take for that to happen?
So the injection of cash, but even just free money, essentially, you're loaning interest rates at what, Lance? 2-3%? That's free money.
I have a comment to add.
Yeah.
It's a question too. It's like you said that there's 2 times the supply that there are buyers. So that's actually that's what we think is our reality. It is. There are not a lot of people in the market, but the
Right.
reality is that we don't have enough homes in America for the amount of people that want to buy
100%.
them. We have a massive supply and demand problem. The
That's
issue
the
is we
next
also have a
problem.
perception. We also have a perception of reality problem.
Yeah.
And the perception of reality problem is that these houses are too expensive. When Mark is nodding his head and he'll say, well, really, maybe if we evaluated what you're spending money on and got to reality and said 6% isn't outrageous. Maybe high prices are a little bit ridiculous. But guys, Jennifer started the call and said, I've got 2 houses under contract. This lady's knocking it out. And when she talks reality to people, Jennifer's got a great gift of doing that. And they're like, I can do this. I can get in.
Yeah.
So we have a huge perception issue that is being translated into, hey, look at all these houses for sale. There's not a lot of buyers really cruising around, but they're renting. They can't build buildings fast enough for people to rent. And guess what? Jennifer will tell you, and I'll tell you, they're paying the same or more for rent.
Yep. And these
Take it away,
people want to
Jennifer.
buy
Sorry.
houses. No, you're fine. So the other stat you should know is that I bet it's at my house in Tennessee. Oh, bless. We had in the hundreds of new buyers. I think it was 134 new buyers reps signed with Benchmark this last week. There were, I think, just under 100 new listing agreements signed, and pending contracts, I think, was just over 100 in the week. There is a lot of activity. People are ready to go. And Lance, you're 100% correct. We absolutely have a housing shortage in this country. The only reason it's not going bonkers is because the market can't handle instability. Remember, Mark, we said that we had both been really getting active right before the Iran thing kicked off.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Yep.
a stat in Rutherford County, there were 165 bound contracts that weekend before everything kicked off, which was the highest number in 3 years. There are people who are ready to go. They've said, okay, this is my reality. So I'm going to say a couple things. If you are a buyer, get in it, and get in it now before everybody flushes in this summer, and it's a very competitive market potentially. If you are a seller, we already have a lot of homes on the market, but we know a lot more usually come on in the spring and summer where people have more time, kind of, because they're not getting kids as much to school, and teachers are off work and different things are going on that loosen up our time a little bit in summer overall. So if you have a house that is not set apart in some really spectacular way, it's a good average house, I would say you should be getting on the market now so that you have less competition and the buyers who are out there are ready to go. Let me pop a few other things up on this thing. You already know about some of my stats. So I wanted to share this with you too. So I've had over 108 buyers closed, 85 listings sold. I have 1 pending listing right now. I think I'm up to 39 first-time buyers. These are updated through 25. When you're interviewing an agent, if you're a numbers person, and even if you're not a numbers person, this is something you should ask them about. This is your list to sale percent. So you take your listing and you divide it by what you get at the end. You see, I'm always, except for 2019 and 2023, which, were sellers thinking their houses were worth a ton. But they settled in the end for less, and we had longer days on market. I'm almost always 99% to 101% list price to sale price. When you're going to price your house right now, history major math, if your house is worth, you think you can get $500,000 for it, I'm probably going to tell you to price it at $495, because people know a good value, and that way you have some leverage, and you're going to get all the people who are ready, willing, and very able to buy in it and doing it now. We can have multiple transactions, or you can have very strong first offers. If you do what the neighbor up here was asking me, gosh, are you going to price it so you can, reduce and negotiate? No, that's not the best way to get the top dollar right now. It's to price it right at or just under the price. And I'll go into a little more of that in a minute. So how do you find the market value of your home? You have to look at your situation, your motivation, and your timing. Like I said, if you need a quick sale and you've got some equity in your house and it's best for you to take a little hit to get to where you need to go, then you look at that. You have to look at your competition, what's on the market in the price range that you think you're going to list at. Is your home better or worse, and adjust accordingly. Then you have to look at your comparables. Those are what the appraisers are going to look at. What's closed transactions similar to yours that we think we can appraise at. And you have to look at your expireds. What did people do that did not work? Don't go above that if your house is similar. There's a very good indicator. Okay. Then what's your absorption? What direction's the market going? How many days on market are we looking at? What dollar per square foot are we kind of looking at? What location, size, and amenities set yours apart? What's the difference between maintenance and improvement? I just put a $20,000 new HVAC in. Well, good for you. People in 2026 expect a house to have HVAC.
Yeah.
I'm sorry that you had to do it right now, but that doesn't mean you're going to add $20,000 to your house. Well, I had to take out a lien to pay child support. Well, I'm sorry that you didn't have the money situated that you could pay your child support, but that doesn't mean the new buyer of your house has to take care of it.
So Jennifer, this how you're describing all of those things, those problems is exactly where coaching comes in.
100%.
And part of this valuing your house. I'm just a buyer, okay? And I'm looking at houses, and I see houses that are on the market for 120 days, far greater than what maybe the average home in that area is going for. And immediately, 100%, what comes to my mind is there's a financial problem behind that valued price.
And it's not necessarily the case. We are longer days on market. We are not going off the market in 1 or 2 days. Now, we can do that if we price it efficiently. But even priced efficiently, sometimes you're going to have maybe 14 to 30 days on market in Tennessee at close to right price. The other thing is when we ask for feedback, and we don't always get it, because thank you, agents, for not doing your job. Your job is to provide feedback and to bring a ready, willing, and able agent. Now, actually, based on that, there are some people who say that one of the next lawsuits is going to be based on agents providing feedback and disclosing their buyer's hands to the seller ahead of negotiations. But an agent can still say whether they think it's appropriately priced or not, right? But one of the feedbacks that we get a lot is, yeah, we think it's in the right price range. Or the market tells you that without words. You're getting showings and you're not getting an offer. You're close, but you're not accurate. And I would drop your price. Okay. You cannot overcome price. You can overcome a lot of other things. So what's your house worth? Your house is worth what is worth to a willing buyer to cause a sale to happen within a reasonable amount of time. That's what your house is worth. If your house is right next door to my grandmother and I need to live close to her, it's worth more to me, right? Let me see here. This is aspirational pricing. This is what I want to talk to you about. You think or you hope that your house is going to get, again, history major math. Let's say I think your house was worth 500, and you're like, no, I really want to try 525,000. Well, what can happen? So the market does not react well to that. Buyers know, because they've been in houses, they've seen houses online, they see 525,000, they come out, they know what that should mean in terms of size, location, finishes, and condition. And if it's not, if your house is 500,000, those buyers are going to be very grumpy. But if you have a $500,000 house and you price it at 490, 495, and you get those buyers out there that know what a 490 or 495,000 house is supposed to be, and they're like, wow, this house is actually probably worth more. I would offer more. They're going to be excited. This happened to me this week. Buyers went out, they saw a house, it was priced 375. They're like, this house is worth more than that. We would offer 380 on this. This is a good house. The other thing is stair stepping. If you say, oh, I'll just take price reductions, then Mark, what you're talking about happens. The house is on the market longer than it should be. People begin to think that there's a problem either with the seller or the home. And almost always you sell it for under what the market price should be. Like the one that I was talking about up in Clarksville last year that they priced at $700,000 when I told them 525, and they ended up selling it, I think, for 500 or 510. So they lost out on 15,000 over the course of months. Your first showings are your strongest showings. That's that last line. The longer you're on the market, the more in danger you are in of dipping below what market price would have offered you.
Yeah, and I mean, if there are people listening and that have experienced what you're going through right now, Jennifer, it's time to figure out how we can handle the personal side of your finances, so that you can move your house. And I can't tell you guys how many times I have met with potential clients and even clients who have said, well, I'm going to sell my house and pay off all my debt. And they look at this thing as and there may be an opportunity to do that, but it's a silver bullet. Okay. Yeah. Meaning that if you are so lucky as to be able to sell the house, use the equity to pay off your debt, and you don't change your behavior, the likelihood is you're going to be right back in the same situation. And it's just, as Lance is pointing out, it's a cycle, over and over and over again. The only way to deal with this is to hit it head on with yourself, with the shovel or your income of what you've got, and working with strong, educated, and well experienced realtors like yourself and mortgage brokers like Lance. And that's
the other thing that I would say too, let's take that $500,000 house. Let's say that somebody has $150,000 in equity in it. Let's say they have 100 equity in it, and they've got $50,000 in debt they're going to pay off. I would absolutely strongly encourage them not to rent and pay off the debt that they can, but I would encourage them not to rent. I would encourage them to get into some sort of smaller home temporarily, because house equity is one of the strongest that we usually have. It's very rare that we have a dip or a loss of equity. Even right now, we are not having a loss of equity. What we're having is a loss of potential equity, if that makes sense. I'm not seeing a lot of houses sell for less than they had. The ones that have, in almost every case, if you go back and look at them, they bought them too high to begin with.
Yeah.
So it wasn't that they've lost equity. They're hitting up to where reason should have had them, if that makes sense. It's not my fault that you put your child support that you didn't pay in a lien. It's not my fault that you went off and paid more than you should have for a house in 2021 because you got swept up on the hype and thought you had to have XYZ.
Right.
So
You've had to help several people this year and last year that bought and overpaid, and then when it came time to sell, you had to be the reality police.
Yeah, I hate it.
Yeah.
But you know what? If you go and you look at my buyer's orientation, I didn't have in 21 and 20, my list to sales percent for my buyers, I think it was 104%. It wasn't 125 and 130%. I wasn't letting my buyers go out and go crazy. They went over market when they needed to get into the house that they wanted, but they did not go out and go crazy because the future's coming and it's got to catch up with you. So let's talk about easy listings. No repairs, no showing, cash offer. Well, first off, you don't have to do a thing to your house to sell it. We've done things to this house here to get it ready to sell. It's taken a lot of time over the last year, and we've been coming out of state to do it. Do we have to do that? Absolutely not. But if we're not going to do it, we have to understand what we're going to get for our home, because price is a reflection of condition. So Mark, if you want to sell your home and you don't want to do anything, no showings, and you want a cash offer, we all have investors that we can get that would do that for you. But a $500,000 house, you might be getting 425, 450, maybe. So you have to take that. And the companies that work on these principles, there's a reason that every company is in business. There's a niche for everything. And if you have a house that you've inherited and it's worth 500,000, but you don't care if you get 425, then great, be done. But they're going to come out and look at your home and say, okay, you don't have to fix it, but 500,000 is not what we're going to give you now. We're going to say, we're going to take off for this because we got to paint the whole house. We got to put in new floors. We have to take care of whatever it is that we have to take care of. So they're going to offset that.
You know, Jennifer, this is a time where I want to jump in and talk about, you know, if you're a homeowner and you have a responsibility as a property owner, as a homeowner, to maintain your property. Yeah. And if you don't, then you know, you're at the end of the day, if you want to, you're not going to get the money back for what, you know, the repairs cost. I mean, right. The fact of the matter is, I mean, I deal with this all the time. I deal with this every single day.
It's maintenance versus improvements. Maintenance, I don't have to, as your buyer, pay for your maintenance. It may make your home more attractive to me if it only has a 1-year-old HVAC, but it's not going to add 20,000 to it.
Right. One of the things that I own rental property, and so let me just share this with you guys. If I look at a property that is potentially going to be a rental property for me, or even if I wanted to, in my primary home, if I drive up to that property and I see a yard that is full of weeds and has not been maintained, hasn't been cut, or and I'm smart enough to know what is weeds and what is grass. Let me explain how I will look at that house. The minute I see that, I immediately tell my realtor here in Texas, take $15,000 off the price. And the minute I walk in, the minute I walk into that door, that front door, my spidey senses are on. I am looking at every single corner. I'm looking at every single fixture. We
do that with doorbells, Mark. I always tell people to have your doorbell together. It's funny that you say weeds and grass, and I would tell you to be cautious on that a little bit, because with the pollinators and the situation with the honeybees, there are a lot of people who are stepping away from a lot of the killing products, and who are also stepping away from grass and going more towards a clover grass. Like my grass, my yard is more of what people would consider weeds. So I think there is going to be a slight perceptual shift. Now, if there's weeds all in the garden beds, and I know what you're talking about, unkempt, but do keep in mind that there's been a environmental shift, even among people who are more central on environmental issues. But we call that the doorbell, because if you see the doorbell or something easy and obvious is in disrepair, then you need to take care of that. That's the other thing too, is you can do a home inspection, pre-listing home inspection. A buyer is probably still going to do a home inspection, but that way you can see things that are easy fixes, and you should do it. And I'll tell you something that's coming up all the time on our inspections is a vapor barrier. The vapor barriers, you know, they're down there. Nobody goes in the crawl space. It's still, you look in, you see the vapor barrier. It's still there, but maybe it's scrunched up or whatever. The vapor barrier stuff, I think it's for a 10 by 100 roll is like $90. You can roll it yourself, or you can pay someone, you know, for $2,000, you could do it. But when an inspector goes in and they see crawl space that's newly vapor barriered and all this, they're not, I don't want to say they're not looking as hard. They're not expecting to find as many issues. If they see that the vapor barrier is all scrunched up, or there's evidence that at some point in the history of the 25 years of the house's life, there might have been water run through, newsflash, you're okay to have water in your crawl space. It has to be gone within 72 hours of cessation of rain. So can we sell your home without doing all that? Sure. Can I get you a cash offer? Sure. But if it's a cash offer, we're running at about 70% of what you might get on the open market. If it's an investor offer with a loan, we're running at about 85%, sometimes 90% of what you could get. So if you want that, yeah, we can do that. But here's the other thing. If you're willing to accept that, again, let's use the $500,000 house. If you're willing to accept $475,000 for the ease of it, go ahead and put it on the open market for the ease of it at $475,000, because you might get up to $485,000 with people who are like, oh, I come in, I see this, that's fine, I'll do it. Do a one-day listing of it. Let me see what the next slide is. Okay, we talked about these folks a few weeks ago. If you have to sell your home to buy, the Home Light Company is a great option to do that, what we call a bridge type loan, so that you don't have to make your new purchase contingent on the sale of your home, because you've got this home equity boost there. But again, you have to price your home right so that you're not on the market longer than you need to, because I think they had a 90-day window or something along those lines.
Yeah. So Jennifer, I was able to use this product earlier this month.
Good.
Past client came to me, $3 million home in Brentwood. Homelight has some size restrictions. It's typically 5,500 square feet. That's one of the things they didn't discuss with us, but now I know that. It's a 5,500 square feet size cap. But this particular person's house is 7,500 square feet. They made an exception. We had to send them 10 photos, and they made an offer. The offer came in at 2.7 million was their
like what they could equity out.
Correct. It worked out great. There's a couple things that were left out. For example, and people need to know this if they're watching our podcast, they actually set up a repair escrow is actually set up. It makes sense. Totally. You'd want to have it in case something needed to be done. But the buyer decided not to go with it because they didn't understand it. And when that fee popped up, that 2.6% fee, it seemed like a lot. It is a lot of money, but it would have helped them. It was a great opportunity. Homelight came through exactly like they were supposed to. And this person Jennifer was basically able to walk into, it was a subdivision in Bellevue, something Valley, you know who I'm talking about. And they were basically going to be able to put $1 million down and just have in cash, non-contingent. It worked. I just wanted to let you know it works.
So let me ask you, they were buying new construction?
Yes.
Okay, let me ask you this. So 2.6 to potentially use this product. Let's say that it's not new construction, because new construction can't vary on their pricing as much. Do you think that you might, with a solid non-contingent or a cash offer, be able to negotiate 2% off of the home you're purchasing to offset that?
Yeah, they might.
100% you could have. If you're buying an existing home, usually we expect up to a 3% variance in an offer, especially if it's a cash clean offer. So yeah, it's 2.6, but if it gets you into the home that you need to be in next, and you can leverage that strength of the equity boost to be able to get a better price on the home you're buying, it's an offset of quid pro quo.
That's smart. Good job.
But you have to be able to realize that. All right, let me see what the next thing I'm supposed to talk to you about. Okay, 3 agreements. We've talked about this before. There's 3 agreements. You have an agreement between the seller and the list agent. What are you paying me to sell your home and get it done? You have an agreement between the buyer's agent and the buyer. What are you paying me to go out and find you the house that you want, get you under contract, and get you to close? Then you have the purchase and sale agreement, which is between the buyer and the seller, in which if the buyer has given the buyer's agent permission, they are allowed to ask the seller to cover through concessions, the buyer's agent's compensation. It is not a requirement for the seller. It never has been, but now it's very clear that it's not a requirement for the seller to pay for the buyer's agent compensation. So what are we seeing? We're seeing almost 100% of the time that a seller is prepared at the prices they're listing it at to pay some kind of compensation. The compensations that we're seeing given are anywhere between 2 to 3% of the purchase price. So if you have an agreement for 5 with your buyer's agent and the seller is giving you 2%, then it becomes a situation, do you need to bring that difference to your buyer's agent, or do you need to renegotiate something with your buyer's agent? And is your buyer's agent in a position to renegotiate? But that's kind of what we're seeing. We're also seeing in this market, buyers need concessions a lot. I mean, not a lot of concessions. Oftentimes the buyers are needing concessions. And that's running anywhere from 1 to 3% of the purchase price to cover the cost of the loans. And a lot of it, I think, is the per diem equity. Is that where most of, I think, the closing cost needs are coming from? There's other things that are figuring into it. The insurance has gone up. So as a seller in the market that we have right now, I would tell you to be prepared to be asked to pay title, some closing cost, and for the buyer's agent's compensation, and to mentally prepare yourself for where your threshold is on that, because it's being asked and commonly given. But everything's negotiable. Okay, let's see. We just went over that. Okay, so there's my contact information. Let me pop this off of here, and we'll go back to normal. So do you guys have any comments or questions about the quick run through of how to list your house with Jennifer today?
I think it's great, Jennifer. Do you ever get a chance to be with other realtors and share your presentation or fine tune it or critique each other? Or do you really get to see other people's
agents? Let me think. I have not done my presentation to other agents in a minute. I think that there were some times last year when I did it in some networking groups where there are other agents present. I know that there have been other people who were previously agents and others who work with agents a lot. And a lot of times they're like, I've not heard it like that before. And I try to take like the best of different things that I hear and go, okay, that's a good something that I need to put into my presentation. You know, like my stats, that's really important to know what your agent's doing and done. What can they get done? You know, and I'm pretty transparent. You want to talk to some of my clients, talk to some of my clients, because God bless, I can't get them to write reviews all the time. I need to.
Well, I mean, some people, you know, they don't like the digital footprint, Jennifer. Mm-hmm. So, but the content and the delivery and the presentations are just really so informative. And, you know, it's clear. It's pretty clear that you have a deep level of experience as a realtor, and formulating people, the three of us together as a team working with an individual, the outcomes of this is just fantastic.
And a lot of times we want them to succeed. Their success is our success. The other thing too, I haven't calculated it for a minute.
Well,
I think it's about a 95% take ratio. So when I go out and do a presentation with a seller, 95% of the time they'll list with me.
what I feel from our team is really transformative. I can speak in the coaching side of both financial. My niche is financial and career coaching.
Mhm.
It is easy for me to pick up when I am with other coaches who are transactional versus transformative.
Yeah.
When it is, I can sense that very easily from coaches, and what I see here from our team is absolutely transformative. I care about people. It matters. It matters to me that I help people avoid what I went through, and if I can help people avoid that, I'm serving them and hopefully in their life in a much better way. And that's what I sense from this team. That's what I sense from your presentations. It truly is a team of people that really care for other people.
Yeah. And I have to say too, it's an individualized approach. So like, I didn't go into a lot of my marketing strategies and things, but there are things that I do for every home that I do, right? I'm going to do open houses on Saturday and Sunday if you allow me, because I've sold a lot of homes at open houses, not with me as the agent, because I don't often double side. I think I've double sided twice, maybe. And those were because the other side was for sale by owner. So technically you're kind of doing both. It's agents who couldn't get out there at the same time, or people just wandered in. I'm like, yeah, call your agent and do this, right? The other thing is I'm going to make it specific to your home. And I meant to address this earlier. So one of the listings I have right now, they bought their home and we're under contract. They bought their home and the people they bought it from had furniture in the home. But when they moved out, the carpet was in really bad shape and they didn't realize it because of the furniture. And I don't even know that the sellers realized it because of the furniture placement. But they're like, we really are probably going to need to do something. And the walls had been painted very strong colors in the 90s, and they had planned to paint them, but they did not get the painting done before they ended up having to move. And so we ended up having to paint the home and put in new flooring. And they were pushing for a higher amount. Like, we have come down $20,000 in closer to where I wanted to list. And now we're under contract. And I hate that for them, because I would have liked to have got their aspirational pricing. But and I'm sure they're frustrated. Like, they're realistic. So they're not I have very emotional clients. They're not that. But I bet they've had discussions about, gosh darn it, why did we paint the house? Why did we put new flooring in the house? You know what I'd like to say if it ever came up with someone is, can you imagine where your price would have been had you not? Because the market already responded to your house with you doing those updates and not giving you what you wanted for it. Well, where would you have been had you not done what you did do?
One of my questions when I'm dealing with clients who are in focusing on paying off debt, one of the questions that I deal with all the time is, and I mentioned this before, I want to sell my house so I can pay off the debt, and the question that I jump into is, take me back to the time when you bought that house.
Yeah.
Take me back to, and what was the feeling that you had about that house when you purchased it? How do you feel about, how does that relate to what you're using that house for now? And then I ask the following question: do you still have the feeling about why you're selling that house and what the proceeds would be used for after they have an opportunity to think about that?
Yeah.
Because I'm telling you, it's the same thing when it comes to, I'll use my car, for example.
Yeah.
I go back to the day that I bought that car. I love that car. I bought, there was an emotional bond that happened to me saying, looking at that car or looking at that house and saying, I'm going to finalize this purchase. This fits my needs. And most of the time, when was the last time you cleaned your car and you got that car all nice and back to what it looked like? Most of the time, and when I take my clients back to that time, it's the same thing about your career. Okay, most of the time, it stops them in their tracks.
Yeah,
and they realize, I don't want to sell my house as a result of the behavior that I haven't changed. And I want to focus, and they want to focus on it. That may lead them to saying, okay, I'm going to sell my house for the right reasons, or I'm going to buy the next house for the right reasons.
Well, and you talked about maintaining your house. If I don't keep myself physically in shape, why am I going to be surprised when I have problems that are more expensive to pay for or that cost me more? If I don't keep up with my house, why would I be surprised that I didn't do, time is money, money is time. I didn't weed my house. I didn't do this. And so now this is all overgrown. And so now instead of going out and spending 5 hours that I would have over the course of the year weeding my gardens, why would I be surprised that now I have to spend a week hacking out an overgrown garden because I'm doing it all at once? I didn't bother to do it when I should have over time.
Or better yet, Jennifer, why should I be surprised if the buyer that is about ready to buy my house tells me I'm taking $5,000 off because you didn't do this?
Right.
And
buyers will almost always take off more than what the seller would do. I tell that to my people all the time. They walk in and they're like, oh my gosh, I got to paint this whole house and that's going to be $20,000 when it might be $7,000.
Right. Why should this, and if you're the seller and your buyer has decided I'm taking $2,500 off because you didn't weed your gardens, why are you so frustrated as the seller? You didn't do that. Just the other thing, there's a cause. And what we're talking about is cause and effect.
Right. Now,
exactly
here's
what
the thing. Let's say that you have something going on with your house. I'm trying to think of something that it might be. Let's say that you have a deck, an oversized deck, right? And some people might not want that big a deck. And it's in okay condition, but it's not brand new. We may quote somebody to come out and do a repair or a removal of something that some people might want to have taken care of, right? So that if that comes up on an inspection or in a conversation, we can say, hey, we had this quoted because we knew it might bother some people. So just so you know, this is about what we had, 2 people quote us at. It's this price range, so that you have that number in your pocket. If they're like, yeah, like the railing on this house, it's gaps like this big, it's metal bars. So how much would it cost to put in a railing that's more secure for kids to be able to go out on there? That might be something that we would look at and go, okay, just to add the cross struts or to add uprights, it's this. Doesn't mean you have to do it. But at least that way you have the number that you can tell the buyer, hey, we could give you this much in concession so that you can retain your liquidity that you would have brought as closing costs. We'll give you those and you can take your money and fix this. Those are important things to know. One last thing I want to mention. I have the house that I have under contract. It has structural repairs. You need an agent who has contacts and who has experience too, or that has a mentor. We're all new ones. If they have a mentor they can go to for knowledge, that's right. So we had structural supports put in, and I knew that they were professionally put in because of the style that they were, but my people did not put them in. So we didn't know when they were put in, what they were put in for, if they had a warranty still left. Most of those companies have a long warranty. So I took pictures of them and I sent them to one of my structural people. And I said, hey, Are there notations on here that say like whose these are or anything else? And he's like, well, we put some like labeling on ours. Those aren't ours, but they're either one of these two companies. So then I told my sellers, and I had a transaction in the past where a buyer wanted to have the structural company come out and make sure nothing had shifted, and they were going to charge him for an inspection. But if the seller had them come out and make sure nothing had shifted because they were under warranty, they didn't have to pay. So I told my seller, I said, you're under, it's probably one of these two companies. Call them up. Don't talk about that you're under contract or that you're getting ready to list your house or anything. Just say, hey, we have these peer supports. Were you the one who installed them for the previous owner? So one of the two said, yeah, hey, that was us. We did it in, I think it was 2014. It's a 25-year warranty. And they said, okay, that's great. Can you send me a copy of the warranty? And is it transferable to the next buyer? They said, yeah. And you're under warranty as well because it was transferable to you. And then they said, okay, can you come out and tell me if nothing has shifted since you installed them so that we have an updated clean bill of health? And they're like, sure, come on out and do that. And I'm like, great. You know what? None of those things would have happened with an agent who had never had to deal with a structural issue.
Yeah, you know what? I've heard it referred to as the broken window syndrome, where you see something wrong and then it sets the precedence for, your. I think I said earlier the spidey senses.
Yeah, but this was a situation where we're like, hey, there's no problem. Here's the new clean bill of health. Yeah, there's a scar here. There's stitches, but there's nothing else. Yeah, go ahead, Lance.
Go ahead, Lance.
We got to run soon.
But I want to tell you my personal story about replacing the roof on my house. Jennifer, you would have loved this.
Yeah.
So we had the big hailstorm back in May of last year, and we put the new roof on our house. The roofing company did a great job. It's amazing how fast they can do this. Part of the insurance claim was damage to the fascia, which is on my house is about a 12-inch fascia across the entire front of the house. I think we'll do another episode on this, Jennifer, maybe talk about it. And while they were replacing the fascia, I happened to be home, and they encourage you to be home while this is going on. The roof was the main thing. There were a lot of people here for the roof, but when the fascia was going on, I was working like I am with you right now. I think it was actually on a call, and I went outside, and wow, some of the fascia had been replaced. It was quite impressive, and I was like, how did they do that so fast? And it was a crew, very talented crew. And as I walked around the house, they were working on another corner. Actually on the loan bus again today, as you might know. I'm out at the house. I'm in my driveway. And there was a lot of visible rot, not to the fascia, but to my rafters. And it looked like a fire. It looked really bad. And I was like, hey, are you fixing that? And it was a little bit of a language barrier. And he's like, yes. And I went along my way. And then I started to think, you know what? I didn't really see any big 2x6s or any big structural stuff. And I went out a little bit later and it was completely covered and done. And I was like, wait a second. And then they were up on the front. They were done in about 6 hours. And I have a pretty big house. It's bigger than I need here now.
I can help you sell that when you're ready.
I know you are going to help me sell that. You know that. It's just a matter of when.
I know, Jesus.
And it'll be really fun. Actually, we should podcast about it. Like what we go through. We could record that. We could sit down. I'll open that up. We can do the buyer's consultation. We can do the seller's consultation. We can do all that. I think that would be wonderful. Have you walk through the house and say, and Jennifer, not only just as my friend as a realtor, it's been wonderful that you through our friendship and through our podcast, I'm being a better mortgage person because of what you're sharing with me. Mark, I'm a better mortgage person because of the things you share with me. And I know that we all complement each other in that. The long short was they weren't repairing those things. So I called the roofing company. I said, this needs to stop. And they're like, well, I'm like, hey, I'm not asking you to stop because I think your insurance that you're supposed to cover this. You're not. I understand that the hail did not cause those years of rot. That's my responsibility as a homeowner. And I can tell you right now, when I go to sell this house or I live here another 10 years, this is my investment. And I've known this day is coming. And I get goosebumps telling you the story because probably when I was 35, I would have been like, go ahead and cover it, right?
Yeah.
But I'm not anymore. I look at things differently.
Yeah.
And so last weekend, they had to remove the entire exterior of our home except for the roof. And it was really bad. And they redid it all.
What kind of
And
siding did you have on your house? Did you have brick? Did you have, what was
it's a brick home.
it's a brick facade.
Here's the house.
So you have a brick facade, right? And
Yes,
the water came down between the brick and the
Yeah.
and the supports. Is that what happened?
No, no. If you remember the front of my house, Jennifer, it's got a lot of
Gables.
peaks and valleys, and they think it didn't have what's called ice guard and some other things.
Oh, yeah.
And you call it a facade. Another word in the South is a veneer. So in
Yes,
Ohio,
yeah.
where Jennifer is right now, and they make a brick home, you've got a layer of brick, then you have brick ties, and you have air between it, and then another level of brick. And the old days, when a tornado came through, it wasn't taking down a traditional brick house because it was a brick house.
He's a brick house.
Yeah.
But in the South, we have, when you see tornado damage and things like that, you'll see these, it just peels away because it's really a veneer. It's not real.
Same with
And,
Hardy. If you don't install Hardy right, it's going to weep behind there. And I've got some beautiful pictures of that we'll share sometime.
So I don't know what it's going to be, Jennifer. It's probably going to be $10,000 or $15,000. It's one of those things like going into the doctor's office. What are those two things we joke about? We go into, you don't know what the bill's going to be, but you agree to it. Auto repairs and medical bills.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I know it's going to happen. And I have to deal with it, but I'm going to be able to tell the next buyer, you got a good, you don't just have what looks to be a good roof. Here's what I did. And that's the type of stuff that Jennifer's going to have to, that Jennifer coaches people on.
Yeah.
She's a realtor that on a purchase goes out. We're talking about the connections we all have, Mark. Jennifer's got the connections that I've seen her. This isn't one, this isn't twice. This is half a dozen or maybe a dozen where she, look at her smiling because she deserves this praise, where she works in the cellar, gets the roof done. Oh, it's not insurable. We can't get it done. Well, let's all work together and get that done. Yeah. And I'm not, it's not one, it's two. It's more than six.
Yeah.
Connections, you can be a realtor or you can be a realtor.
Yeah.
Like the top-notch one, like the one in the middle of the screen of our Brady Bunch screen. So I wanted to tell you about our roof. I'm glad I got to talk about home light, and I'm glad, I'm not saying that to make myself look cool, but it was a big realization about, I wonder how many houses out there just have the lipstick on.
And had you sold that and not known that it was going on, you would not have been trying to shyster somebody. If you hadn't seen it, you just didn't know. And that's the other thing I try to explain to my buyers and sellers. If you know something about it, you have to disclose it in Tennessee. Mark, what were you going to say? And then we probably got to wrap.
I know we're getting long here, so I'll make it quick. One of the things that is that I do is I save all of my invoices or all of the repair documents paper format. Yes,
a home book. It's called a home book.
Yep, I have a file folder for each one of my properties, and it whatever gets done, I can go back, I can look at it. I've got
put your paint colors in it. Paint colors in it. Yep. Put your contacts for who you use for what. Put your flooring choices in there. All those things go in that book.
Yep.
It's very helpful when you go to sell. In fact, that was there was something else on the listing I have right now. The previous seller was a doctor, and then the current people were Air Force, and they had things. Tim's dad was a CB. You don't think we've got freaking file boxes full of stuff what he's done in this house since 97.
Yeah, I mean, I have inspections done on my air conditioner and my heater twice a year, once in the springtime, once in the fall. And I have documentation, and let me tell you, that's going to make a difference when I go to sell the house, because I'm going to lay that documentation out. I'm going to say, here is the maintenance plan that I've done over the last 10 years.
If you want to carry forth with it, here it is. And that's how you present it. If you would not like, I've done this and you can pay me, but you sit it out and you go, hey, if you'd like to carry forth, this is what I've done. And therefore, without saying it, you're saying, I have kept this house, and it is worth more than the other. But that's how you present it. So anyway, we got to probably run away.
Yeah. And that's why I can ask for the price that I'm asking for, is because I can back it up with documentation.
Yeah. Now, again, maintenance doesn't necessarily make you money. It can retain your money.
Right.
Upgrades make you money. So just remember that.
Yep.
There's a difference between upgrades and maintenance. So until next week, when we're going to talk about lending in some fashion, I don't know what we're going to talk about for sure. Lance, are we talking about problems in lending or what you're seeing in lending, or?
We can talk a little bit about what happens when a rate goes up 1%, what it really changes from a dollar figure, what it changes in the psyche, etc. And I would argue that it's having too much impact on people because of irresponsible understanding of finances. And Mark will be able to really play into that with me.
Sounds good.
Oh my God, rates are up 0.5%. I just can't do it anymore. It's not. Then you have other things. Then let's shift to the guy on the left here and let's get these things in focus, because your pushback isn't reality, right? It's asymptomatic of what's going on, and Mark can talk to that.
Yep.
All right. Sounds good. Until next week, guys.
Podcast. I think we're going to get some great AI from this, guys. I think there's some really good bullet points.
Well, I do
for sure.